Yeah, Coach, going back and looking at the film, I don't know. I didn't think the offensive line blocked maybe as bad as we thought coming out, but maybe there was a problem here and there with just having 7 real drives.
Man, I tell
Everything
you
gets
what,
exacerbated.
I thought in all honesty, how you could convince your team of this is how we're going to win. I guess it's the old Dean Smith 4 corners. You know what I mean? Especially with the clock like it is. What was the game? 2 hours and 45 minutes. You know what I mean? Well, then you start pressing because you're supposed to win by a bunch of margin. It didn't go so well at first. Here's what I saw. We're not covering. Our fits up front have to get better. In other words, everything's getting popped out to safeties, and we're not making any of them miss either. So we've got to make safeties miss. We quit putting RPO on the back end of it. We weren't particularly throwing the ball well either, weren't catching it. And so at some point, Dan and I had a conversation about we're going to win the game. Let's see if we can't try to get our run game going. And we tried several different things. We found out some things that we can do and some things that we can't do. How we could take the ball with the last 6 minutes and displace the line of scrimmage like we did and not do it at the beginning. We've got to figure all that kind of stuff out. But the bottom line is this, is that our fits aren't good at tight end. They got to get better. Our fits are not good consistently up front. They've got to get better. Our blocking on the outside is on edge. It's got to get better. Our catching game, we had 2 third downs. We dropped the ball. We stay on the field. The game could be much different. Those things we have to get better. But after I saw that, I actually thought we played better last week than we did this week up front. But I didn't think we played too bad, actually, last week up front. This week, it's all about edges. It's about displacing linemen. And when we're in double teams, the only time that we truly displaced their D-line is at the end of the game, the last 6 minutes. Those things have got to become more consistent. I think Bo has to become a more vocal leader. He's got to go. I think having Brady back will help us. But we have to get better there. We're addressing it. We addressed it last week. It may not be just a quick fix. I think where we're going in the order of how we're playing our games is going to help us with a new coordinator. And there were some mistakes. A new coordinator continued to try to figure out exactly what we do well, what we can do well, but you have to do something well, and I think our backs got to run harder.
You mentioned after the press conference there's the pin and pull play where you're talking about hitting the hole. I think you were talking about second quarter.
You saw it.
Yeah, and
With
DeBinion
7.
kind of bounces it out. Well, later in the game, he actually was hitting it. Is
Made
that
a safety miss and got 8 or 10 yards on the play.
Is that a conversation that you have? Is it like you have to trust the hole's going to be there because Limmer blew it open at about the same time, or is it you have to have patience? Is it trust or patience? What's the
what pin and pull is? You got to understand the play. I think you know what I mean. What pin and pull is it should guarantee you getting the ball outside the tight end. It should guarantee that because you've seen so many stretch plays that are full zone blocking plays, and they hit behind the center. I mean, that we're acting like we're stretching. Every now and then it'll hit front side of the tackle. Never gets outside the tight end. And pin and pull is one where you're going, I'm going to get in space. Obviously you don't want to pin and pull if they're in a 9 technique. You'd rather run some kind of inside gap scheme, inside zone. But if someone's going to give you that, you want to take advantage of it. You can get out to the edge, but then it's kick out, cover. That's just what it is. So when our tackle went to kick out, we just kept trying to outrun the kick out block. Well, that's not the design of the play. And so, again, it's a new play for us. But we should be better than that. We run it all the time in practice. So I think that is just trusting and understanding the play, to be perfectly honest with you.
For the questions we asked the other night, about your run game, your fans have seen a team that ranked 7th in the country in rushing the last 2 years. So maybe is it too much to expect that a bunch of new linemen, a new coordinator, that you can hit at that level, and then you got to build up to that?
You know, it's just a different offense. I think that's whenever you go with hire new coordinators, that's your biggest fear, that something that's worked well in the past doesn't anymore. You know what I mean? And we've had our trouble running the ball last 2 years at times, but we've been pretty consistent, running the football. So no, I don't think that's I can promise you whatever the concern would be. No, that's not true, because they're concerned a little bit more than me about different things. But the concerns of the fans, certainly, I can promise you we want to win and have success as bad as anybody. And so that's valid. We got to fix a way. We got to find a way to fix it. I'm not for sure. I think I might have said it the other night, that having RPOs on the back end of some things, it can dictate the numbers in the box, unless they're just willing to play man-to-man coverage the whole night, which our league probably will. But if you're not having the threat of throwing the ball, which we took away, then you're going to get a loaded box, and that's what happened. Then it becomes frustrating because I said I've never been around a team that couldn't run inside zone, and we haven't had success with it. And it's either we're not getting the movement, our fits aren't good, it's kicking outside to an unblocked safety. So all those things we went in depth with yesterday about how can we give our kids the best way of winning. And it doesn't necessarily have to be running the football, but you have to run the football to win, in my opinion.
So you beat BYU by 17, could have scored at the end and made it 24. So KJ talked about playing with more passion, and I may be understanding the opponent, whatever. But so your players saw a blowout on the road. Do you have to kind of warn them again, this is a different BYU team? And what's the scouting report on them?
Well, a hard team, anybody who's undefeated, including us, they're hard to beat. They haven't learned how to lose yet in that season. That group of guys that's playing together hadn't been beat, so they don't know how to lose. But I think the tape, to be perfectly honest with you, they're 2-0. Their tape, they play extremely hard. I mean, they do. They did last year. I think they're a better football team than they were last year. Big, physical team. They've got a guy at each level on defense that I think is really good. Their defensive end. They're Thule. I loved him last year. Just a hard-playing kid. And then Robinson. So they've got more than that, but those are kind of standout guys on defense. They're totally different on defense than they were last year. And got a guy from Weber State in, and they are multiple now. And against us, because of our not having success running the ball, I'm sure we're going to see a tremendous amount of looks. They moved pre-snap, some things we've got to get ready for. But they ran odd pressure. They're a fire zone team, which we have not seen this year either, where it's true 3 under, 3 deep. So they're going to cause us some problems because they move so much. They blitz quite a little bit. Offensively, they're really big, really good at tackle. Kingsley, again, I said it last year, but I tried to get him to go to Georgia. End up going to Oregon and transferring in, and then they got the kid, Etienne the kid from Oklahoma State at the other. Huge guys. I think those are 2 premier type tackles. And then I don't know if Epps is going to be back or not, but he was hurt he's hurt 2 weeks. He's a really good player at wideout 2. Their number 2, this Chase Roberts is a really, he catches a lot of balls. He reminds me a little bit of R4, to be perfectly honest with you. And then, they got the quarterback transfer in from Pitt. And number 5 is a really good wideout too. So they're a stretch team, a boss counter team. They run a lot more stretch this year than they had in the past. I think they're still trying to run the ball a little bit as well. Two teams remind me a little bit of each other. I think their defense is playing outstanding. Their offense is playing well, but their defense is, to me, really playing well, like ours. And so it's a good matchup. They're a big physical football team.
Ball seemed to be playing pretty confident in the second half. Do you feel good about his health where he's at, and then I guess the linebacker room as a whole now that Greer's back?
Yeah, health-wise, he's fine. He's ready to go. We had a little problem with the tight end crossing going into the flat. We missed that twice on Saturday, but Pooh's running well, moving well, made a nice tackle on, I guess, maybe their longest play the other day, or came down and made a tackle, 20 yards down the field or whatever. But, he's just been hurt or out of the game. We've got to get him settled in, but I did think he played a fine game. Jaheim Thomas been probably the most consistent guy that we've had, probably our best linebacker in 2 weeks. And then, of course, we got Greer in there. Crook didn't get a chance to get in there, just the way the game was going and all that, but we certainly believe in him as well.
And it seemed like, he made another key block on the goal line. What does that say about him as a guy who, he's not getting the ball to score, but he's willing to do whatever it takes?
Well, he's by far our best blocker down there. And so you go, well, we're going to use him in the block. Well, if you don't use him in the block, what other guy are you going to use? And especially this week with Rocket being out, we don't have another real big guy back there, So he's a great kid, great team player. I wish we could have more success handing him the ball, and I do believe that we will in the future. But it says a lot about his character, especially all the things that he's gone through. But he has done well on the goal line, as you've said. Make some key blocks, and 23 did too the other day, made a nice block.
Same, just touch on it there. Rocket, is he for sure out this week, and just how's he doing overall?
Rocket will be out this week, and then we'll figure out, how fast he can recover. Got to get some swelling off of him, and once we do that, then we'll see how fast, whether we can have him back for LSU. I just don't know right now.
With his turf toe, is that an injury he had in the Western Carolina game, or is it in practice? Or?
No, he got it on Thursday, and late in the practice on Thursday. We thought he was going to be okay, and then he went out there and just said he couldn't push off of it, and in all honesty, Stewart played a good game. Had one ball caught on him there, but played a good game, and it'll help us in the future with that. But I expect Duty back this week.
Coach, BYU, they scored 14 in week 1 and then more than 40 in week 2. I'm just curious, what have you seen on film that kind of let that offense take a step forward from week 1?
I think Sam Houston's really good. I think they're really good on defense. I think they're one of the top 20 as far as ratings go in their first 2 games that they've played. So I think they played a pretty good defense the first game. Obviously, they have some first-time guys, the quarterback, all that kind of stuff. I thought the second game, if you look at us on offense, and we didn't hardly have any explosive plays, and explosive plays are what you need for a lot of reasons, But BYU got quite a few explosive plays through the air. They hit 83 for a long pass, and so I think the run game was better against Southern Utah. It was a lot better than the week before, but they threw the quarterback threw the ball much better game 2 than he did game 1, and they made some nice plays off of it. They got good receivers now.
And then on the flip side, in that matchup for your defense, it's been a pretty good 2 weeks. I mean, what has there anything that's surprised, or what are you most happy with the defense at this point in the season?
Well, we haven't cut anybody loose behind us. I think that's, we're not giving easy points. We have had a few MAs underneath routes and things of that nature. We got picked the other night in a 3-by-1 that they end up making that bigger play for us. We were in man coverage. But I think right now we're swarming the ball well. I didn't think we tackled as well Saturday as we did the first game. We're not wrapping up. We got to wrap up, and we're just trying to knock the heck out of the guy, knock him down. Well, you got to wrap him up. But I've been really proud of our defense. I put them in a bad situation. They had to punt, goal line. They stopped them. Now you might say, well, they got down there. Well, teams are going to get down there on you. But for 2 field goals in that game, been really proud. And situational ball, I think we've been a lot better than what we have been in the past.
Quick, there's a video circulating on the internet of KJ getting Skittles after a touchdown. I don't know what's the backstory behind that? Anything?
No, I guess he just likes candy. I don't know.
If it's a reward or low blood
No,
sugar.
I need to find out where he's getting them from.
Sam, you've said a couple of times Jaheim Thomas has maybe been your most consistent linebacker. Like, what's he doing well, or what are you most pleased with?
Pretty much mistake-free. He's right now he's our most consistent tackler. Not jumping out of gaps. He's pretty much gap-free, gap sound in there, and he's just a guy that, well, for those reasons, been playing pretty well.
Armstrong's been pretty good for you the first 2 weeks. Just going back to when you were trying to get him here, does anything come to mind, like recruiting process-wise, maybe?
He's just a lot better than I thought he would be, to be perfectly honest with you. He's a lot faster. He showed flashes on tape of all the things that we've seen here, but he's Tesla. Let's put it like this: Tesla is about what I thought he would be, and Armstrong's much better than what I thought he would be, and I think it's just because of his speed, overall speed, and his ability to catch. But I think it has everything to do with what kind of person he is, and he's just a hard work, great kid. Well, both of them are. A lot of them are, but you asked me specifically about him. He's just a real great kid that's appreciative of, playing before a sold-out, full-capacity crowd and those things.
With someone that's maybe playing himself into a few more snaps.
Yeah, you know what's happening right now. None of them is playing very much. They've got the rotation. I'll be honest with you. I don't know who to take out of that rotation. And, you got to get Nico in there somewhere too, because he can fly and does some nice things. But Kiwi is a guy that is certainly we're talking about moving up to the ones. However, I think we had Jeff Coat had over 30 reps, and I don't think anybody else did. Now the game was, there wasn't as many reps, but most of them were in that high 20s. Now Stu came in; he didn't have that many, but he was very disruptive. It's good to have him back as well. But he was knocking people the line of scrimmage back, and so that's going to cut into somebody's reps too.
Jeff got SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week. Can you just speak on what he's meant to you in that game and